when you're in your bottoms up, like that would probably happen. You fix your thing and that just gets pushed downstream. And then you're taking a step back and you're wondering like, why isn't the organization moving faster? And likely because you've just pushed the bottleneck elsewhere, building in a bit more of a coordinated fashion. You're able to sort of solve all those bottlenecks in more of an organized way. And so that hopefully, like my hope is that it will lead to sort of what feels like more step change improvements in like our efficiency or in like really automating or changing the way we operate as opposed to like purely incremental.
And I think this is a great point to transition a bit and talk about planning, because you've set a framework that you use is objective, strategy, tactics. Can you walk me through this one?
So I use it across everything, not just in planning, like starting with objectives. So objectives in sort of plain speak would be like winning is ... So when you think about what your objective in any situation, high stakes, low stakes, what is success going to look like to me? And then the strategy, it's like, okay, so like, how am I going to, what are the ways in which I could win? And finally, you get to the tactics. It's okay. So what's step one, step two? To pick a completely non-financial example, if I'm like, hey, I want to build like the best bakery my town's ever seen. That's my objective. Winning is I have like the best bakery this town has ever seen. And then the strategy, okay, I'm going to win by like birthday cakes. I'm going to choose to focus on birthday cakes.
Gonna own the birthday vertical.
I've got 2 young kids, and let me tell you that birthday vertical is a lucrative vertical.
There's a lot of money there.
And then tactics, it's like, okay, step 1, hire a baker. Step 2, like figure out my recipes. And so that's a pretty simplistic way of thinking about it, but I think you can blow that up into like company level planning, and you can shrink that down to like, hey, I'm about to go have a conversation, like a pretty critical conversation. Let me think about what success really looks like. What's my objective? What do I want out of the conversation? Given that, like, what are the ways in which I could approach this? Okay, given that, like, what's step 1? What's step 2?
Objective, strategy, tactics. Which of those 3 gets skipped or not given enough airtime?
I would actually say it's probably defining what winning is. It's like loosely defined, but for this to really work, you actually need to define a lot more specifically. And so if you have 2 people being like, I want to build the best company ever, cool, you need to get way more specific than that. So it's like not just one getting skipped, but I think like one being like too low fidelity. And so if that's too low fidelity, you're going to diverge when it comes to the strategy, and you're really going to diverge when it comes to the tactics.
Well, I find some companies are so gung-ho on just doing something and jumping to the tactics that they won't even step back with like a new product launch or a geo that they're going into and say, is that even something that we want to win? Is that even a game we want to be playing? Would we be happy if we won that prize?
Can we doesn't mean should we.
To hit on the planning vein, and I love that can be used, that framework can be used even for preparing for a podcast or a meeting that you're going into. You've been through a number of planning cycles, and you've remarked that planning reveals things about an organization. What does a planning process and going through that reveal that you may not just see day to day?
Whether strong alignment, weak alignment, or no alignment at all. I love the planning cycle or the planning process for that reason. Because again, if I go back to like my framework, it's really hard to make progress if you're not aligned on like what success looks like. People are talented and they're ambitious, but if you aren't aligned on what success looks like, you're not having people, if I think about it almost from a capital allocation framework, we're all deploying our capital in very different ways. And so a lot of capital is being deployed, which means like you should see a lot of return. But if you're not all deploying it into the same areas, all of that energy and activity is just going to bleed out. And so I think really like alignment is thing number 1. And thing number 2 is prioritization. Once you have that alignment, how does that filter into prioritization? I can't say I've got the prioritization thing figured out. It's a perennial challenge. Like when you have like a really big opportunity in front of you, it's like it's all important. That's the truth. But then thinking about like what's the right sequencing. So it's not that not everything is important, but how do you think about like the optimal sequencing within that to truly enable folks to make really like rapid and meaningful progress?
And sometimes it's not saying no, it's just saying not now.
Exactly.
You've also said that planning starts by figuring out which team goes first. I think this is like the age-old question. It's like that Spider-Man meme. They're both pointing at each other. One is sales, one is product. And I guess there'd be a third one that's finance. How do you decide whether product or go-to-market or someone else should lead the planning process?
I've tried planning like all at the same time, and it gets messy. You don't want planning to go on forever at any company, right? And so you're like, okay, well, we're just going to pick like this short sprint and we're all going to plan at once. It was like very confusing. And so I was like, I now like believe very much like sequential planning. And so when you figure out who goes first, how do we maximize enterprise value? This is like long range planning, less about annual, but like more about long range planning. What's going to like maximize enterprise value over the long term. And at almost everywhere I've built with, it starts with what we're building and who we're building for. I tend to operate in high growth environments where it's less about like, you're not in your harvesting era. It's like, well, this is what we do, and we just need to figure it out, like how to do it like incrementally better. It's more that like you're still pushing out the possibilities of what you're building, who you're building for, are very much still on the upwards trajectory. It's oscillated. Stripe and Plaid product tends to be the ones to define like, this is what we're building, and you know, with support from GTM, this is who it's for. At Glossier, actually, it's marketing, it's GTM.
Depending on if it's an engineering-led org versus a sales-led org, there could be a different voice that's kicking it off and kind of guiding it.
You need both at the table, product and your GTM. So it's always like, I don't know, you know, some people say like, oh, if I go first, it means something. No, not really. But the idea is just trying to like really already trying to solve for that alignment. It's like if you don't have alignment around what you're building and who you're building for, that's going to be a really, really painful planning process.
Today's episode is brought to you by Anrock, the sales tax platform behind companies like Anthropic, Notion, and Vanta. Here's a fun way to totally ruin a Tuesday. Open a letter from a state you've never set foot in, telling you that you owe back taxes you didn't know existed. Happened to me, because the rules never stop moving. States are now racing to tax AI, digital ads, streaming, really anything new, and they're doing it faster than a spreadsheet can keep up. Anrock handles all of it. One platform that watches your exposure everywhere, automates compliance, and flags risk before it turns into that nasty gram. That's why thousands of finance leaders trust Anrock to stay ahead. Talk to an Anrock sales tax expert for a personalized exposure estimate at anrock.com/RTN. That is ANROK.com/RTN.